We're back in Elderwood for our Jurassic World Evolution 3 Sandbox build, and, as promised, there are dinosaurs today. I wanted to build a hatchery, but I didn't just want to hide it off in the side like I so often used to do on Sandbox. We've got an opportunity here to do something else to make it feel like part of the build itself. So this is the Rewilding project, an exhibit slash hatchery slash research building that observes the dinosaurs and houses them at the same time. That's the idea, at least. We're going to hatch 6 Psittacosauruses today, so if you want to give them name suggestions, there is a Google form in the description of the video. Leave your favourite one name, and I'll pick a bunch for the next video. We're going to have 3 males, 3 females, name whichever you like. Let's dig into the build. Right then, here we go. So as mentioned, I wanted to build a hatchery. I wanted to use the default sort of hatchery template kind of thing. You can split it into 2, as you can see. We've got the paddock and we've got the building itself. Unfortunately, they still have to be pretty bloody close to each other. I was hoping I could shuffle it way off to the side. And unfortunately, the hatchery paddock itself is always gigantic. There's very little we can do about that. But keeping them separate at least gives us a little bit of flexibility. And it kind of led to the build idea. This one was a bit tricky. I spent about an hour doing another build before this one and I scrapped the entire thing. I often talk about how you'll have an idea and maybe it isn't quite working, but you've kind of got to chug along with it. You've got to keep going, keep pushing the idea, and eventually you'll hit this beautiful point where it starts to actually happen. It wasn't going to happen. I had a sense that I was going in the wrong direction. So I rethought, redid, and tried something a little bit different. I'm actually really happy with where this build ended up. I think it's some of my better building work in general. Now, you'll notice the building itself thematically is a little different than the building we've had before. I'm going to kind of use this. I think it's important if you want your park to feel thematically, you know, consistent, to kind of have a build style in mind, have certain textures, have certain colors that you reuse throughout. So I might go back and change the first building, but it's also the entrance building, so maybe it can stick out a little bit. But for the main sort of staff utility buildings, I'm going to stick with this same singular sort of color scheme and idea. So that's a lot of stone, a lot of rustic stone, some brick, and this very dark wood to kind of contrast with the stone. So we're going to use that throughout the entire park, hopefully. I mean, we'll have different sections here and there, different themed areas. I love a theme, but the major staff buildings in particular are going to be that, with a little bit of copper and a little bit of a warmer wood for the balconies and stuff like that. A little jump there. I just kind of finished off doing the basics of the building and now get to faff around with the windows. I very much had in mind the idea of the lower floor being, you know, windows and stuff like that, but this upper floor that you can see, this sort of staff area only, would just be massive amounts of glass, massive amounts of window that you can see through, because I really, really like the windows in this game. They bring me a silly amount of happiness, to say the least. So throwing all those windows on the front there, and then just doing a little bit of detailing work along the buildings. Just, there's a little bit too much of a gap, and it just, if you just have the blank wall there, it kind of looks accidental in a way. So a little bit of wood detailing just to make it look a little bit purposeful, make it look a little bit less flat, and also showed me that the windows were in completely the wrong place. Basically, it needed shuffling down, but especially at nighttime, these windows look really, really cool. Gigantic glass windows like that. What I did find out today, and what I really think needs fixing, we have glass roofs. We've got like a skylight roof piece. It looks really great. We don't have glass walls in this game at all. We straight up do not have glass walls. They do not exist. Well, they do, but we don't have transparent glass walls. The only glass walls we have in this game are opaque, which is a big shame. I'd love like an actual glass wall. I was going to use it as part of this build, but obviously I couldn't. So this is something you'll see me do quite often. I think this is a good idea. It's a little annoying because it means it does break your blueprint a tiny bit, or breaks your group, but if you extend your roof and then shift it to the side, you get this nice overhang, which is, I would suggest how most buildings tend to look now. The game, and you know, Paleozoo does the same, does give you little trims and stuff you can add to the side, but in terms of actually getting a nice big overhang over your building, you're probably going to want to disconnect your roof pieces, duplicate them, and sometimes you're going to have to sort of stack them on top of each other, but it looks a lot better. It looks a lot more dramatic, I think, and A lot of buildings in real life look like this. I talk too fast and I run out of breath. And then I have to try to breathe without the entire video being me going but yeah, so I'm just doing the roof overhang, and again a little bit of detailing on there, just putting some like struts of copper underneath just so it looks a little bit more detailed, a little bit more realistic. It's the little things. It's the little things, you know? And then I wanted this to be a balcony. The idea is that the lower floor is maybe open to guests. I had in mind when I first started this, kind of like a veterinary thing at the zoo, where you can kind of see what's being done inside a little bit. And then the upstairs would be a staff area. It would be just for staff members. And what I'm sort of building towards here, and this was another big thing I had, and I really wanted a way to join the building and the hatchery together, you know, the opening in a way that made sense. And that was quite a tricky thing to come up with, but what I thought about doing was I wanted to mess around with the gantries. There's a few gantry options in this game. You know, if you think about the Jurassic World raptor paddock, for example, it's got that big gantry across the middle where people can observe the raptors, they can feed them safely, etc, etc. So I wanted to do something like that. So the idea behind having a balcony in the first place is that the balcony can extend into a gantry at the side that goes over the top of where the hatchery is. And we'll have dinosaurs living in that hatchery permanently. We're going to have these cystosauruses living permanently in this. It's kind of like an exhibit, but we'll be able to use the hatchery later on. Now, obviously, things in the future aren't going to be birthed into the exhibit. They're going to be helicoptered out, but, you know, now we've got a hatchery that is at least part of the park itself. And also we have some dinosaurs. Cystosauruses felt like an appropriate dinosaur for our first dinosaur. It's new, which is great. It's small, easy to control. I say that. I say easy to control. They all broke out instantly, as you'll see in a little bit. But I did my little detailing work on the building and just started to, well, clearly went to do something else. I think I was responding to an email at this point in time. I was really meant to cut this out of the video, but that's okay. It gives me an opportunity to catch up a little bit on what's going on. We're jumping around a little bit in the time lapse. We're only on 500% speed. Usually I go a lot faster. And this was a long build. This was like a 4-hour build. All done today. Lost my mind a little bit, I'm not going to lie. But it was a 4 or 5 hour build. So rather than have it go zip, 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 I've cut a few times, you know, anything that I think wasn't that important, we can catch up a little bit and you can just see the separate segments and sort of what went into them. I think this is the better way to do it. And I'm annoyed I never did this on Planet Zoo back in the day because you either have to go very fast or make the video obnoxiously long, and I think this is the good middle ground. Anyways, big old planter, decided to recolor it to kind of theme it a little bit more with the wood from the building as well. Initially, when I started thinking about doing this Elderwood and this Pacific Northwest kind of vibe, it was going to be more rustic. This is obviously quite a modern looking building with some slightly more rustic touches to it, basically. We are going to do that. Things are going to get nefarious and rustic, but I do want the staff buildings and the initial part of the zoo to feel modern, to feel modern, basically. And I think I think I got that. I think I got the vibe I was looking for, basically. Here I'm just trying to colour the brick a little bit so it matches what I've done with the walls, and just building a little custom fence kind of thing. So the idea is that nice low-key, easy to control dinosaur. You'll walk around, you'll see the rewilding building where they're doing their research and where the staff members are working, and then you'll work around and see what they're rewilding at the point. So there's going to be a little detail to make it look a little like a campsite and stuff like that. It's a little bit of theme in there, but it's quite light on that in general. Realising that the park isn't really going to function until I add shops and an operation thing, like a response facility, and all these things I really don't want to do. Shops in particular bore the absolute bejeebus out of me. But if we do it once, if we just build a nice shop in this same style, right? We build one of each shop, and we build a restaurant, we build a restroom, and we build a bunker, and all those basic things. We only have to do it once. We just do it once, and we're good. I never have to think about it again, because then we can just I'll make them into blueprints and we can reuse them throughout the park. It's just doing it once makes me sad. I want to do more crazy things with terrain. I want to build a horror park. I just want to do the fun things, but I do want the park to function. The dinosaurs are going to have food and water as a requirement. I'm not going to turn that off. I usually would. So I have to build at least somewhat realistically to try and accommodate that. Anyway, it's a little ring of thing there. Ring of thing, as you call it. So that's the right hand side. That's where the dinosaurs emerge, obviously, from the hatchery in a little observation area. But I wanted them to have, I was originally just going to do it that size, but I wanted them to have somewhere to live at night. I wanted them to have somewhere to sleep. So I thought, connected onto that, we'll do a second, slightly rougher building, a little bit more of the stone and the brick and stuff. And that'll be a sleeping area, like an indoor resting area for the dinosaurs that you can then go and walk around and observe the dinosaurs as well. So that's what that's going to be on the left. And this totality that you're looking at here, the ring bit here, and then the bit on the left-hand side is the extent of the exhibit. So it had to be a small dinosaur, otherwise they'd be very upset. But I will say the dinosaurs are fine. They have all their environmental needs met. Only just, but all the environmental needs are met. There's some very happy dinosaurs, especially after they broke out. You will see them hatch. I've included that in real time as part of the video. But for now, just kind of making this, again, a little bit more rough and tumble, but I wanted to have some consistent elements. So we've got the copper roof again, we've got the black wood again, just things that are going to carry on throughout most of the build, and they kind of tie the park together. If you think about it as elderwood, as a tree, as a net, as a spider web. I'm not sure. It's like at the top of the tree, right? And next to elderwood, you've got copper roof, you've got black wood, you've got sort of pale yellowish, orangish stone, right? So all the elderwood stuff has those materials, has that building style, has that theme. And then off that, you would have certain sections, like maybe we'll do a Cretaceous section, maybe we'll do continent-based sections. I don't know what we're going to do yet. And those will have individual sub-themes that are for those specific areas. You know what I mean? That's how I like to build anyway. I think it's a logical way of building. But I'm always hesitant to assume that anything I do is logical. So let's not assume anything quite so silly. My roof wasn't quite perfect. It's a little bit too high. Nothing I build ever really stays on the grid. Everything needs to be finagled a little bit. I am building on the straight lines of the grid, or at least I'm trying to stick to the default grid, because otherwise things just get very messy. But inevitably little things have to be shifted here and there to make the roof look cooler, or just fix little foibles that you inevitably pick up as you go along. But there we go, there's our little rest area. Made it quite a lot smaller than it was originally, and again doing the same thing, duplicating the roof, splitting it from the group, and then advanced moving it, because you can't do this without splitting it. But having that little overhang just looks a whole lot better. Decided to mute myself to breathe. So yeah, just working on the fence there. Big old chain link gate. Seems like the most appropriate type to contain the dinosaurs, as they say. And here we go.
Cute little animals, the Psittacosaurus, are rather fascinating. They have impressive self-sharpening teeth that are amazing at slicing through plant matter. Despite that, they still need to swallow stones or gastroliths to help them digest their food. Eating habits aside though, I'm an especially big fan of those tail quills, and I'm sure our guests will be too.
So there are our beautiful Psittacosauruses, and there they are walking out. Basically instantaneously. I noticed that the territory was far bigger than it should be. And you know what? I could not tell you why it was happening, but as you'll see, if you'd paused it just then, the fence I was using, the chain link fence, had collision turned off. Don't know why, because when I placed it again, collision was turned on, so I had to make a little operations thing. I placed another fence and collision was on by default, and I did it again there, and you know I've replaced it with collision on fence, and it was fine. Collision was on, and I couldn't toggle it back on. Obviously, that would seem like the logical thing to do, but I could not turn collision on for those fence pieces. I've got genuinely no idea why that was the case. So if anyone knows, please let me know. Anyways, I threw down a little wooden fence around there. It's always good to have a double layered fence. It feels quite realistic to a real zoo because you don't want people banging on the fence and stuff like that. And now it's time for my favourite bit, the lights. So I've got my lampposts. They're all going to be, again, it's kind of like a consistent thing. We're going to use these throughout the park. You want those same colours. You want the same style of lamppost repeating throughout the park. So it feels like it's all from the same park, like it's thematically consistent, basically. And then some lovely little bush lights. Who doesn't love a bush light? how else would you see your bush in the middle of the night? You just wouldn't. And then had to light the inside of the building. I got a little confused here because I can't see the black wood because it's so dark. But wanted them to feel cozy inside, but it had to be a little bit darker, right? So we're going to use some hanging lights and we're going to bring that colour down, darken it, make it just like a soft, sort of warm sort of coloration that looks like, yeah, it's the sort of cozy place you'd hang out at night time without maybe, you know, you'd be able to sleep in it, I think, without losing your mind. I could probably sleep in that much light, but also guests would be able to see. That's kind of the middle ground I was trying to hit there. I might darken it a little bit further. And then, of course, I wanted to lighten the exhibit a little bit. So I threw in a little tent. Again, sort of a light theme about this kind of rewilding idea, you know, that we're camping out in the wilderness, looking after these wild dinosaurs, helping them integrate in the environment. And that kind of gave me an excuse to use some of these more buildery style lights, you know, that you see on building sites and stuff like that. And then the building itself needed some lights as well, so using little ones for this, because the windows are already huge. They're already giving off a lot of light. They don't emit light, but they I can't remember the difference. They don't cast light. They emit light, but they don't cast light. So they're not brightening the area around them. So I don't want to go too hard on the lights, but we did need something to make the building shine a little bit more. So these little warm wall lights on the pillars in particular, and a little bit on the building itself. Contrast nicely with the white of the windows as well, with that a little bit more warmth, and make sure our guests don't, you know, walk into the wall, basically. And there we go, lights done. So the next thing I wanted to do was have a little bit of a sign, something. Now this might look like madness. This for me is the easiest way to do this. If you want to scale your letters, you can place one, scale it, place another, but if you try to place another, it'll scale back up. So what I do is scale the letters down, and then click the letters I need and stack them together and then just separate them out like this. I don't know if I'm being stupid, but this is the best way I found to mass scale all the lettering together, basically. And as you can see, it didn't really take that long at all. So just wanted a little sign to say this is the rewilding project. A lot of what we're going to do here is kind of like it's a learning zoo, you know, like an educational zoo as well as a zoo. In that we're going to have rewilding, or we're going to have, I haven't really thought about it beyond that. We'll have like an animal hospital kind of vibe going on every now and again. I've got another project in mind where I want to do something like that as well. It's going to be a different sandbox build. But there's going to be a few different things like this. And Mr. DNA will always be present. He's going to be the mascot for the science bits, essentially. So if you want to pop down, learn some science, you're going to learn all about what rewilding is. You can go inside the building. There'll be presenters in there talking about the rewilding project and what it is. And you'll be able to see some people at work. But the staff also have the upstairs, which is a more private area for them to work. So the idea is to kind of get a mix of all those different facets together, basically. And I thought the Stegosaurus family felt a little bit more appropriate for that kind of thing. Now, the final big thing I had to do then was build the gantry. So this was the metal that you're seeing here, and this is going to extend out the side of the building into the habitat and allow my staff members to walk out from their research room, their offices on the top floor, and walk out and observe the Stegosaurus. And we're even going to put a little ladder in there. The gantry options in this game are really good, actually. They're pretty sweet. Be able to walk out down the ladder, sort of go and take care of the dinosaurs, maybe go feed the dinosaurs and stuff without having to necessarily leave and go through a different route. Although they have a little staircase, as you can see there on the left-hand side as well. I usually don't quite enjoy doing staff areas, but I found this quite fun. I'm not really sure why. I guess because it felt so part of the theming in a way. And I think the gantry options we have are really cool. All these little fences, as you're seeing. The ladders are great, as you'll see in a second. And all this metal. Basically, I had wood attached there, as you can see, but I decided to swap that into the metal as well. I think that makes more sense. And that's kind of just going to move a little bit around the ladder at the bottom and form like a little bit of a square, basically. There you go. So you can walk up without dying or being a ghost. You can walk up without having to be a ghost, which is nice. And it kind of integrates into the rest of the building still. Was very much le plan, as they say in France. Probably. I don't speak French. I have to imagine it's le plan. Please don't correct me. I don't care. It's the plan. Anyway, so the tent and stuff was a little bit in the way, and then I just wanted to dabble. I haven't played with this before. I haven't dabbled with these ladders before. These weren't in Paleozoo. These are something new, very Jurassic appropriate. So it was kind of learning how they all fit together. The cage maybe doesn't feel strictly necessary for a Psittacosaurus habitat, but you never know. You never know. Steve Irwin, R.I.P., died to like an inadvertent quill, essentially, from the stingray. So it's not outside of the realm of the possibilities. So a little bit of cage to protect our guests if one of the Psittacos gets really angry, basically. And I'm just going to double up on that cage a little bit. So there's room at the bottom for a human to climb inside, and then you've got the cage around you as you climb up to the top, and then just moving the fence around so that kind of matches where the ladder is approximately, as you can see. It was a bit finicky, this bit, actually, because I hadn't... You should do the ladder first. I think it's easier to do the ladder first and then do the fence from there, but I didn't, so what are you going to do? Cry about it? Yeah, maybe. I'm considering it. We're nearly done, so I'm just going to do a little bit of strut support here, something to support the gantry so it's not just floating randomly. As cool as it would be to have invented this magical floating gantry, I guess it could be supported on the ladder, but that seems like a bad idea. Gonna get rid of that cross section eventually, but it's worth a shot. Just little struts popped along, nicely spaced out, make it all look official, and we are essentially at the end, I believe. So that is the final build. As I say, I'm pretty happy with this. This, I think it fits thematically with what we've done before. We're kind of integrating the nature, which is definitely the plan and vibe for the build. A little bit more going forward, even more natural stuff in the future, but I am quietly very happy with myself on this one, because it was hard work coming up with how to blend the hatchery into the park. And I'm not going to say it full on blends in, because it just never can. The hatchery green bit is gigantic. I did cover it in a little bit of brick to try and make it sort of match the building a little bit more, but there's only so much you can do, really. But I like that we can now split these apart and we can do something like this. I had a thought at some point whilst building this that I cannot believe this is Jurassic World Evolution, because it really feels like being back playing Planet Zoo. It really does. And for me, it's the most excited I've been to build in an Evolution game since like the first game. Evolution 2 was fun and had some really cool things like Chaos Theory, but in terms of the building, it really didn't move me, you know, sexually or any other way, really. Because it was basically Evolution 1 with a couple extra things. You know, we had the lagoons and the aviaries, which were quite limited at release anyway. So, whilst I understand why some people bounce off this modular building, for me, it's really cool being able to do things like this and to build things like this that I just couldn't imagine ever doing in any other Evolution game. It's absolutely wild that we can now do this. I'm still excited to get into... I want to do some big terrain stuff, you know, mess around with that a little bit more. I'm still going to do big waterfalls and cliffs and all the stuff I like doing when we get to those bigger exhibits and less buildings. But in the meantime, yeah, hopefully we can find a nice balance between the two things. I don't know what's next. I think we probably do need to do a little bit of a guest section. The very thought of it strikes fear into my heart, but we'll see. Anyways, as I said at the outset of the video, if you go down into the description, you'll see a Google form link. You can submit a name, just one name, okay? Submit a name for the Psittacosauruses. We'll have 6 of those to name. We've got 3 males, 3 females, and we'll name those in the next video, and we'll build something next time around. So if you enjoyed the video, please do throw me a like down below. Thank you very much for joining me. Cheers much as always. Bye-bye.
Road.